Hey everyone, here's my quick review for Happy Death Day to You. I really wanted to get this review out this weekend, but I've got a sick child about 10 feet right over there and a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. The quick version, I'm going full-time on YouTube in about a week. You can hear the full story about that right up above, but I've got a lot of stuff on my plate, so this is going to be a very simple review. I just wanted to share my take on it with all of you wonderful people. If you've seen it, go ahead and tell me, what did you think about it down below in the comment section? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it too big of a change? Was it too similar? All that fun stuff. Let's have a nice lively discussion about it. So as we go to this movie, essentially it's a continuation of right where the previous film left off. The time loop continues to happen. There's another killer out in the mix, and this movie really digs deep into what is causing this time loop to happen. And really, that's the big thing that distinguishes this film from the previous film. The first one was a very simple concept about essentially Groundhog's Day with a killer in the mix on a college campus. This film really looks into what's causing the time loop and how do you break that. So some people I know have seen this movie and their first reaction was, well, that was real different. Like now it's like a sci-fi comedy. I don't think this tone is the difference. I don't think it's necessarily even that there's that much more comedy in it. I think it's that the first film focused on catching a killer, and this film focuses on stopping the time loop, in which case those can feel very different, even though the tone is actually the same. But it's a story difference, not a change in the comedy or anything like that. From there, let's move on to the good aspects of this film. And the first thing that comes to mind is that it's just a lot of fun. Very quick moving, quirky characters throughout it, little jokes, and it's a type of movie that goes for it. Whatever ideas it has, it kind of throws it at the screen. Some of them don't fully land. Some of them are a little bit over the top. There's a few times where the humor tries to break the fourth wall that I wasn't particularly crazy about, but because they're just trying to pour so much energy into it, they're trying to entertain you, it's always a fun film. And a big part of the reason it works is that it's filled with kind of these quirky, interesting, charismatic characters, whether you love to hate them or you just love them in general, or whatever the dynamic is. It's a fun set of characters that you get to spend time with, and there's some new ones kind of thrown into the mix. The roommate character from the first film, he kind of gets a big promotion in this one. There's a whole new set of like these nerdy characters that are his friends in the laboratory. So you just enjoy all the characters that you're spending time with. Also, this movie, as I mentioned before, digs a lot deeper into the time travel, time loop aspect of things. And so if you like that kind of thing, like me, I really like time loop and time travel films. So this movie had a bunch of stuff that I really liked, and it's a movie that very much loves the genre that it's in. Very much you can tell that the writer-director loved these types of movies. So there's tons of references to things like Back to the Future all over the place. Little sound notes, music cues, the name on the side of a truck, the location of where some of the places that she tries to kill herself at different points in time. So many references to Back to the Future. But there's also deeper cuts like to the movie 1201 and several other different time loop, time travel stories that have similar themes to them, which makes for a really nice touch. Probably one of the standout sequences in this one that people will be talking about the most is the death montage. They go all out on this one to try and come up with the craziest, wildest things that are just like, as you're watching it, you're seeing something just grotesquely violent happen, but because you know it's going to like loop back, you're able to just have fun watching someone repeatedly die, horrible deaths. And so it's a real fun little neat sequence inside of the film. But that's kind of the key thing. It has that fun energy of the first film, and if you really enjoy the time travel, time loop, like what's going on here, there's a ton to like inside this movie. It also has deeper emotions. It goes into some things where our lead character has to make some hard choices, and you explore kind of her value set a little bit more because of the way the time loop stuff happens. There's some neat emotions inside of all of that. From there, we'll move on to the bad. And the big thing is that this movie is all over the place. It doesn't really know what it wants to be. It doesn't have a lot of focus. Part of the appeal of the first film is what I mentioned before, is you can very simply describe it as Groundhog's Day on a college campus with a killer. And anyone hears that synopsis and they've got a pretty good idea of exactly what the movie was going to be. This film, it adds in the multiverse, multiple people looping. We're trying to crack the code of the time loop. All these side characters, they're trying to steal stuff. There's all these different things going on. And then the movie goes, oh yeah, we've got a killer in the mix. And so our characters have to run over and work on the killer side of things. And so it's a movie that can't fully decide if it wants to abandon the serial killer stuff, if it just wants to highlight some of these things. And so it just feels kind of like they tried a few too many things and it doesn't fully come together in the end. And in particular, if you really enjoyed the first one because you really enjoy slasher films, that whole subplot, it's an afterthought. Very much the characters are like trying to crack the code, the time loop. We got death montages, and then they go, oh yeah, we've got a serial killer out there. Let's throw a scene in where we run over there to jump into that storyline. But that's the way it kind of plays out. That's the back burner plot line, breaking the time loop, cracking all the science stuff. That's the main storyline here. And one final kind of big negative on this one is the first 15 minutes introduce a whole bunch of ideas, plot lines, directions that they don't really pay off in the end. It's just all set up for stuff to kick in our main storyline about our main character. But afterwards, you're like, wait a minute. So what was going on in the first 15 minutes? Why didn't we resolve that? Don't we need to loop back and like talk about what happened in that first section? And it makes for like a big twist reveal, like, oh, what's going on here? But it doesn't go anywhere. They just abandon it. It's just set up for our main character's storyline. So overall, this movie is a pretty big, kind of a mess when it comes to tying all the pieces together, but it's also an absolute blast. There's a bunch of nerdy stuff that you'll enjoy. I enjoy all the time loop, time travel nerdy stuff. So I probably enjoyed this one kind of right on par with the first one, even though it's a little bit clunkier in the storytelling and everything. Still a ton of fun. If you like the killer stuff, though, you probably will be pretty disappointed with the direction that this film goes. Overall, I would say that this movie's a B. If you enjoyed the first film, this one is definitely worth checking out. If you're skeptical based off what I said, rent it at Redbox when you can rent it. You don't need to rush out to go see it. And if you like time travel movies but didn't like the first one, give this one a try too, because it's got some elements that I think might win you over. Tell me what you thought about it down below in the comments section. If you want to hear more about what's going on with me behind the scenes, check out that link right up there. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies too much.